Hello, friends. Welcome to Wisdom and Wealth, the channel dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges with the wisdom of the ages and build a fulfilling life. Have you ever felt like anxiety is the unwelcome guest in your life, the one who never leaves, always whispering worries in your ear? What if I told you that there's an age-old approach, a time-tested teaching, that can help you untangle yourself from anxiety's grip, perhaps even banish it from your door altogether? In the next few moments, we're going to explore a simple, yet incredibly effective, principle from the teachings of the Buddha, a lesson that has guided countless individuals to quiet their racing thoughts and discover a deep sense of inner tranquility. If you're new here, and you're interested in actionable advice for managing stress, improving your finances, and finding greater purpose in your life, then hit that subscribe button and join our community. We're building a space here where we can share wisdom, learn from each other, and empower ourselves to live richer, more meaningful lives, no matter our age or background. Stick with me, because by the time this video concludes, you'll possess a valuable tool, a new perspective, that has the potential to reshape your life for the better. Imagine anxiety becoming a distant memory, a mere blip on the radar of your well-being. We're not talking about overnight miracles here, but real, sustainable change. Before we dive deeper, I wanted to extend an invitation. If you resonate with the idea of integrating Buddhist principles into your daily life to achieve greater peace, balance, and resilience, then please subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. We regularly share actionable advice, insights into mindfulness practices, and time-honored wisdom to help you transform your mindset and cultivate lasting inner peace. Here, we're building a community of individuals just like you who are looking to live more intentionally, more consciously, and with greater purpose. We're not afraid to tackle the tough questions, and we're always learning from each other. It's a journey we're on together. Also, don't want you to miss out on future videos that, like this one, are designed to enhance your overall well-being. Just click the subscription button and hit the notification bell to stay informed about all of our latest content. Now, let's return to our focus. Let's start with a basic understanding. What is anxiety, really, and how does it exert such a strong influence on our lives? Anxiety has become an all-too-familiar companion for many in today's fast-paced world. It seems to follow us into every corner of our existence, infiltrating our work, our relationships, and even those precious moments we set aside for rest. But what if I told you that it doesn't have to be this way? For over 2.5 millennia, the Buddha taught that suffering, and that includes anxiety, is something that we can learn to understand, manage, and, ultimately, overcome. In this video, I'm going to share with you a specific Buddhist teaching, a particular approach, that can fundamentally alter the way you respond to anxiety. Whether you've been struggling with anxiety for years, or you simply find yourself feeling overwhelmed by it from time to time, the principles I'm about to share are applicable to virtually any situation. Through a combination of meditation techniques, mindfulness exercises, and a deeper understanding of key Buddhist concepts, you'll begin to see how anxiety can actually transform into calm, clarity, and even a sense of inner strength. It's not about pretending that everything is always okay. It's about finding a new way to respond to the challenges that life throws your way. Now, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth again. Now, let's embark on this journey towards greater inner peace. It's important to understand that we're not necessarily trying to eradicate worries entirely. The aim is to learn to coexist with them in a wiser way, to prevent them from controlling our lives and dictating our choices. The power to accomplish this lies within your own mind, and in the next few moments, you'll discover the keys to unlocking that power. Let's begin by understanding the origin of anxiety. According to Buddhist teachings, the root cause of anxiety, and indeed of all forms of suffering, stems from attachment. This attachment can manifest in many forms. It can be attachment to material possessions, to specific people, to ingrained ideas, or even to our own expectations. This creates a sense of tension and suffering when those attachments are threatened, when our expectations are not met, or when we fear losing what we hold dear. Essentially, attachment keeps us in a perpetual state of worry about what we have and about what we think we need. In many instances, anxiety arises from this fear of losing something that we value or from the frustration of not obtaining something that we desire. The Buddha identified this cycle, the root of all suffering, in what's known as the Four Noble Truths. These truths explain that suffering, including the anxiety that accompanies it, has a cause, but that it can also be brought to an end if we truly understand its origin. The important thing to realize is that anxiety is not an external force, but an internal response, conditioned by our own minds. In essence, the source of anxiety lies in our attachments and our aversions. We crave that which we believe will bring us happiness, and we try to avoid whatever causes us discomfort. This constant push and pull, this endless seeking and avoiding, is what fuels the cycle of anxiety. One of the core tenets of Buddhist philosophy is the understanding that everything is impermanent. The possessions we accumulate, the relationships we nurture, and even the emotions we experience are all temporary. Yet, our minds often cling to the illusion that we must maintain control, that we must hold on to what brings us joy and avoid anything that causes us pain. This attachment is what binds us to anxiety. By learning to observe life from the perspective of impermanence, we can begin to loosen these attachments, and with them, the grip of anxiety. Now, it's important to understand that the teaching of detachment doesn't advocate for a life of deprivation. It doesn't mean renouncing everything that we value. Rather, it's about learning to relate to the world in a more liberated way, without allowing fear or desire to dictate our actions. Detachment is not apathy, but freedom. Now, here's an invitation to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. In this section, we'll delve into how the thoughts and emotions that feed our anxiety are created by our minds, and how we can start to free ourselves from them through a new way of thinking and living. In Buddhism, one of the most profound teachings is the understanding that suffering, including anxiety, doesn't originate from external sources. Instead, it is a creation of our own minds. Throughout his life, the Buddha emphasized that our mind is the primary source of both our well-being and our suffering. Therefore, anxiety is merely a reflection of our relationship with the world and with ourselves. If we can change the way we relate to the world, our experience of anxiety can also change. A key principle for breaking free from anxiety is the practice of detachment. This practice is rooted in the idea that excessive attachment to objects, people, emotions, or even thoughts, generates suffering. Now, detachment isn't about abandoning or rejecting everything that we hold dear. It's about learning to navigate life with a more liberated mind, without succumbing to the constant desire to control that which is inherently beyond our control. Rather than struggling against anxiety, detachment encourages us to observe it, understand it, and ultimately, to release ourselves from its control. To fully grasp this teaching, it's helpful to explore how anxiety originates from a Buddhist perspective. The Buddha taught that the root cause of suffering, and therefore of anxiety, is tanha, which translates to desire or craving. This desire drives us to constantly seek out what makes us feel secure and comfortable, while simultaneously trying to avoid anything that causes us pain or discomfort. However, the world is in a constant state of flux, and the things that we desire or fear are often beyond our influence. This leads to a cycle of dissatisfaction. When we obtain what we desire, we fear losing it. When we don't obtain it, we experience frustration and anxiety. The key to breaking this cycle lies in understanding the nature of impermanence, a central concept in Buddhist philosophy. Everything in the world, including our thoughts and emotions, is constantly changing. Nothing remains static forever. Anxiety arises when we cling to the illusion that something should be permanent, whether it's an emotional state, a relationship, or a life circumstance. When we learn to accept that everything is transient, including our own thoughts and emotions, we begin to free ourselves from the suffering that anxiety generates. A classic example of how the principle of detachment can be applied to anxiety is through the practice of observation without judgment. In this exercise, we're invited to observe our thoughts and emotions as if they were clouds drifting across the sky. Clouds come and go, and in the same way, anxious thoughts arise and eventually dissipate. We don't need to cling to them or identify with them. When an anxious thought surfaces, we can acknowledge its presence, but we don't have to react to it. We simply observe it and allow it to pass, much like a cloud in the sky that will eventually fade away. In addition to observation without judgment, the Buddha taught a range of practices that can help us break free from anxiety. One of the most effective is mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness teaches us to be fully present in the current moment, without getting swept away by worrying thoughts or expectations about the future. When we're fully present, there's little room for anxiety, as anxiety typically thrives on worries about what might happen, not what's actually happening right now. The practice of mindfulness often begins with something as simple as breathing. Through conscious breathing, we can ground ourselves in the present moment, drawing ourselves away from the anxious thoughts that distract us. The Buddha taught that by focusing on the act of breathing, we allow the mind to calm down and return to the here and now. Each time we consciously inhale and exhale, we're strengthening our capacity to be present and to avoid being swept away by anxiety. Breathing becomes a safe harbor, a refuge that we can return to whenever the mind becomes agitated. But how does this translate to real-life situations? Imagine that you're feeling overwhelmed by anxiety, perhaps due to a work-related concern or a disagreement with a loved one. Your mind fills with what-if scenarios and doubts about your abilities. At that moment, instead of allowing those thoughts to take control, you can pause and direct your attention to your breath. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. By doing so, you recognize that those anxious thoughts are simply that, thoughts. They don't possess the power to define reality unless you allow them to. Breathing helps you to create space between yourself and the thoughts. In that space, you can choose not to be dominated by them. Another fundamental teaching for breaking free from anxiety is the cultivation of compassion. This applies not only to others, but also to ourselves. Often, anxiety is exacerbated when we're overly critical of ourselves, when we blame ourselves for feeling bad or for not handling a situation as we believe we should. The Buddha taught that compassion is one of the most powerful forces for transforming both the mind and the heart. When we treat ourselves with kindness, acknowledging that it's natural to experience anxiety at times, we give ourselves the space to heal and grow. Self-compassion allows us to release the burden of guilt and self-criticism, creating an internal environment that is more conducive to peace. At this point, you might be wondering, how can I integrate these teachings into my daily life? The answer lies in consistent practice. It's not about making a radical transformation overnight, but about incorporating small actions each day that bring you closer to a calmer mind, free from the grip of anxiety. You can start by dedicating a few minutes each morning to conscious breathing. Simply sit in silence and observe your breath. Throughout the day, you can remind yourself that anxious thoughts are like passing clouds and that you don't need to cling to them. Over time, these practices will naturally become integrated into your life, and you'll find that, while anxious thoughts may still appear, they no longer have the same power over you. Your mind becomes stronger, more resilient, and anxiety, instead of being an enemy, becomes a signal that it's time to return to your practice, to return to your breath, to remember that everything is impermanent, and that you can navigate any situation with calm and clarity. In essence, the Buddhist teachings for breaking free from anxiety aren't a quick fix, but a continuous journey of inner transformation. Through understanding attachment, impermanence, observation without judgment, mindfulness, and self-compassion, we can dismantle the mental patterns that keep us trapped in anxiety. By practicing these teachings, we not only reduce anxiety, but we also cultivate a more liberated, clearer mind that's better equipped to navigate life's challenges with serenity. Now, I want to encourage you to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. You can unlock all of this teaching for free. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools that Buddhism offers for reducing anxiety. Through meditative practice, you not only calm the mind, but you also develop the ability to observe your thoughts in a detached way, without letting them dominate you. In this section, I'll guide you through a meditation technique that is specifically designed to reduce anxiety, and we'll explore how you can integrate it into your daily life to cultivate lasting peace. The meditation that we're going to practice is based on two fundamental principles: conscious breathing and observation without judgment. These are key pillars in Buddhism, and they are particularly effective when it comes to calming an anxious mind. The goal of this meditation is not to completely eliminate anxious thoughts, but to transform your relationship with them. You'll learn to observe those thoughts from a place of calm and balance, rather than reacting impulsively to them. Before we begin the practice, it's important to find a quiet place where you can sit comfortably. You don't need to adopt a perfect posture or be in a specific location. You can sit in a chair, on the floor with a cushion, or even lie down if you prefer. The most important thing is that you find a position that allows you to be relaxed yet alert, without any tension in your body. If you choose to sit, make sure that your back is straight, but not rigid. Your hands can rest on your knees or in your lap. Now, we're going to center our attention on our breath. Begin by inhaling deeply through your nose, noticing how the air enters your body and fills your lungs. Then, exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing any accumulated tension in your body. You don't need to force your breath, just allow it to flow naturally. As you inhale, imagine that you're breathing in calm and serenity. As you exhale, imagine that you're releasing any worry or anxiety that you might be feeling. Repeat this process several times. With each breath, feel your body relaxing more and more. As you begin to feel more relaxed, gently shift your attention to the natural flow of your breathing. Don't try to control it. Simply observe how the air enters and leaves your body. Feel the cool air entering through your nostrils, traveling down your throat, and filling your lungs. Then, feel the warm air exiting again, carrying away any tension. Each breath is an opportunity to ground yourself in the present, to return to this very moment, leaving behind any worries about the past or the future. As you focus on your breathing, it's natural for anxious thoughts to begin to surface. Perhaps worries about tasks that you need to complete later arise. Or, you might experience a wave of emotions that you have been suppressing. Don't be concerned about these thoughts. Don't try to eliminate them or fight against them. Instead, simply observe them. Imagine that each thought is a cloud drifting across the sky of your mind. Just like clouds, thoughts come and go. Some are denser and darker, while others are light and fleeting, but all, without exception, eventually fade away. The key here is not to identify with those thoughts. When an anxious thought arises, instead of thinking, "I am anxious," simply acknowledge it, an anxious thought is appearing. This small shift in language helps you to create distance between yourself and the emotion, reminding you that you are not the thought, but the observer of the thought. You are the sky, not the clouds. Anxious thoughts are transient and do not have the power to define you, unless you give them that power. As you continue to observe your breath and allow your thoughts to pass, you might notice that some thoughts return again and again. Perhaps there's a particular worry that seems persistent, a situation that is causing constant anxiety. In this case, instead of avoiding the thought, invite it into your field of awareness. Allow yourself to observe it closely, without fear. Ask yourself, what is this thought trying to tell me? Often, anxious thoughts are the mind's way of alerting us to something that we deeply care about. But, when we observe them without judgment, without trying to resolve them immediately, we can diffuse the emotional charge that accompanies them. Another important aspect of this meditation is cultivating compassion towards yourself. It's common for people who experience anxiety to judge themselves for feeling that way. You might think, "I should be able to handle this," or "I shouldn't feel this way." But, judgment only intensifies anxiety. Instead, I encourage you to allow yourself to feel compassion for yourself. Anxiety is a normal human experience, and there's nothing wrong with experiencing it. As you continue to focus on your breath, silently repeat to yourself, "It's okay to feel this way. I allow myself to feel this anxiety without judging myself." This simple act of self-compassion can have a powerful impact on your mind and body, easing tension and allowing you to relax more deeply. If, at any point during this meditation, you find that your anxious thoughts become overwhelming, you can always return to focusing on your breath. Your breath is your anchor, your safe haven. Whenever you feel lost in thought, simply return to your breath. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly, and watch as the thoughts gradually lose their intensity. As you continue with this practice, you'll notice that anxiety doesn't vanish instantly, but your relationship with it begins to shift. Instead of automatically reacting to anxious thoughts, you observe them calmly, as if you were watching a movie projected on a screen. Anxiety may continue to arise, but it no longer controls you. You become the observer of your own mind, rather than being swept away by it. This meditation is something that you can practice every day, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes. Over time, you'll find that your ability to manage anxiety improves, not because anxiety disappears completely, but because you've developed a healthier and less reactive relationship with it. Instead of viewing anxiety as an enemy, you'll learn to see it as an opportunity to practice mindfulness, observation without judgment, and self-compassion. When you feel ready to end the meditation, begin to gently move your fingers and toes. Gradually bring your awareness back to your surroundings, noticing the sensation of your body making contact with the chair or the floor. Take one final deep breath, and as you exhale, release any remaining tension from your body. Slowly open your eyes and take a moment to notice how you feel now compared to when you began the meditation. This simple meditation exercise can make a significant difference in how you handle anxiety in your daily life. By practicing it regularly, you'll strengthen your ability to be present, to observe your thoughts without reacting, and to maintain a sense of calm even in the midst of chaos. Remember that meditation is not a quick fix, but over time, it can profoundly transform your relationship with anxiety and help you to discover greater inner peace. Wisdom and wealth. Please consider subscribing. The practice of meditation and mindfulness that we've just explored is a valuable tool for reducing anxiety. However, for its impact to be truly transformative, it's important to extend these teachings beyond the meditation cushion and apply them to our daily lives. Often, we encounter moments of anxiety not while sitting in meditation, but in the midst of everyday situations, whether at work, at home, or while interacting with other people. This is where the real work begins, learning to manage anxiety in real time, when we find ourselves immersed in life, without a safe and quiet space to retreat to. One of the key principles for applying these Buddhist teachings is to cultivate mindfulness in every moment, not just during formal meditation. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully present in the present moment, observing what's happening both within you and around you, without judging or reacting automatically. Anxiety usually arises when our minds project into the future, worrying about what might happen, or dwelling on the past, regretting what has already occurred. When we practice mindfulness, we anchor ourselves in the present, which allows us to avoid falling into those mental projections and, consequently, reduce anxiety. Imagine, for example, that you're at work and facing an important deadline. The pressure is intense, and you begin to feel anxiety settling in your body. Your shoulders tighten, your breathing becomes shallow, and thoughts of, "What if I don't finish on time?" begin to repeat in your mind. This is where the Buddhist teachings about mindfulness can make a profound difference. Instead of allowing those thoughts and sensations to overwhelm you, you can take a step back mentally and observe what's happening within you. Rather than labeling those thoughts as bad or threatening, simply acknowledge them as they are thoughts. They aren't reality, they're simply interpretations that your mind is creating in that moment. You can then practice conscious breathing, as we did in the previous meditation. By inhaling deeply, you bring your awareness to the physical sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This helps to calm your nervous system and break the cycle of anxiety that your thoughts are creating. Even in the middle of a busy office or a stressful situation, you can take a few seconds to close your eyes, inhale deeply, and reconnect with yourself. This brief pause can completely shift your mental state, allowing you to approach the situation with greater clarity and calm. Another helpful technique that you can use in situations that provoke anxiety is to consciously acknowledge what you're feeling, without immediately trying to change it. Often, when we experience anxiety, our first instinct is to try to get rid of that feeling as quickly as possible. We tell ourselves, "I don't want to feel this way," and we fight against the emotion. However, Buddhist teachings suggest that resisting our emotions only gives them more power. Instead, we're invited to acknowledge what we're feeling, without judging it or trying to eliminate it. You can say to yourself, in this moment, I am feeling anxious, and simply observe the emotion as if it were a cloud drifting across the sky of your mind. This act of acknowledging, without reacting, reduces the emotional charge of the anxiety and allows us to view the situation with greater objectivity. In daily life, there are countless opportunities to practice this conscious acknowledgement. Perhaps you're in a tense conversation with someone and you feel anxiety starting to rise. Instead of allowing that emotion to dictate how you respond, you can take a moment to observe what's happening within you. I feel tension in my stomach, or I notice that my breathing is accelerating. This small act of observation creates space between you and the emotion, which allows you to respond to the situation from a place of calm, rather than reacting impulsively. In addition to mindfulness and conscious acknowledgement, another important teaching from Buddhism that you can apply in daily life is the concept of impermanence. Anxiety often feels overwhelming and eternal, as if it will last forever. However, one of the fundamental truths that the Buddha taught is that everything in this world is impermanent, including our thoughts and emotions. Nothing lasts forever, neither the good nor the bad. When you deeply understand this truth, you can approach anxiety with a new perspective. Instead of thinking, I'm trapped in this anxiety, you can remind yourself, this too shall pass. Anxiety, like any other emotion, is transient. It will arise and eventually fade away, like waves in the ocean. Imagine that you're facing a situation that causes you significant anxiety, such as public speaking or dealing with a difficult situation at work. It's natural to experience a wave of emotions leading up to the event, and your mind might start generating thoughts like, I won't be able to do it, or what if everything goes wrong? At that moment, you can apply the teaching of impermanence. You acknowledge those thoughts and emotions, and then remind yourself, this is only temporary. By doing this, you reduce the pressure that you feel and allow yourself to navigate the situation with greater ease, knowing that the anxiety will eventually subside. Another way to apply this teaching in your daily life is through the practice of compassion, both towards others and towards yourself. Anxiety often makes us feel isolated, as if we're the only ones struggling with these feelings. However, Buddhism teaches that suffering is a shared human experience. Everyone, at some point, experiences anxiety, fear, insecurity, or stress. When you recognize that you're not alone in your struggles, you become more compassionate towards yourself and towards others. Instead of criticizing yourself for feeling anxious, you can tell yourself, it's human to feel this way. This self-compassion allows you to soften the impact of anxiety and respond to yourself with kindness, rather than judgment. You can apply compassion to others in a similar way. Perhaps you find yourself in a situation where another person is behaving in a way that causes you anxiety, such as a demanding boss or a difficult colleague. Instead of reacting with irritation or frustration, you can practice compassion by recognizing that they, too, are dealing with their own challenges, fears, and insecurities. When you see others with compassion, you reduce the power of the anxiety that arises in those interactions and open yourself up to responding from a place of understanding, rather than reacting impulsively. It's also important to emphasize that the practice of meditation and mindfulness doesn't need to be confined to specific times of the day. You can bring these teachings into every aspect of your daily life. For example, while walking to work, you can practice walking meditation, focusing your attention on each step that you take, feeling the sensation of your feet making contact with the ground, and observing the sounds and sensations around you. By doing this, you not only ground yourself in the present moment, but you also reduce any anxiety that might be arising in your mind about what awaits you during the day. Similarly, while performing everyday tasks like washing dishes or cooking, you can practice mindfulness by paying attention to each movement, each sound, and each texture. These tasks become opportunities to calm your mind and practice detachment from any anxious thoughts that might otherwise be invading your consciousness. Finally, I want to emphasize the importance of consistent practice. Buddhism teaches us that mental transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and dedication to develop the ability to observe our thoughts without reacting, to practice self-compassion, and to integrate mindfulness into our daily lives. However, over time, these practices begin to have a cumulative effect. You'll notice that, gradually, anxiety loses its power over you. You become more conscious, more present, and more capable of navigating stressful situations without being overwhelmed by them. In short, applying these teachings in your daily life not only helps you to reduce anxiety, but it also allows you to live more fully and consciously. Anxiety is a part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to define your life. Through the practice of mindfulness, compassion, and acknowledgement of impermanence, you can cultivate a calmer, more resilient, and more peaceful mind. And, most importantly, you can carry these tools with you anywhere, at any time, to find calm and clarity in the midst of chaos. Now, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. You can unlock all of this teaching for free. Now that we've explored various tools and Buddhist teachings for dealing with anxiety, it's important to reflect on how to integrate these practices into your daily life continuously. The path toward a calmer mind, free of anxiety, is not about achieving an overnight transformation, but about building a different relationship with your thoughts and emotions over time. In this final reflection, we'll see how you can deepen these teachings and make them part of your day-to-day so you can experience a life with greater inner peace and less anxiety. First, it's fundamental to remember that anxiety is a natural part of the human experience. No matter how advanced we are in our meditation practice or how much wisdom we acquire, there will be moments when anxiety presents itself. The goal of these teachings is not to completely eliminate anxiety from your life, as that would be unrealistic. Instead, what we seek is to develop a healthier and wiser way of relating to anxiety when it appears so it doesn't control or paralyze us. Throughout this video, we've talked about the importance of mindfulness, the ability to be present in the current moment and observe what's happening within us without judging it or reacting impulsively. This is a skill that strengthens with daily practice. You might find it difficult at first to maintain mindfulness for long periods, but like any other skill, the more you practice it, the easier it will become. I encourage you to start with small doses of practice. Even a few minutes a day can make a difference. In addition to mindfulness, we've explored the practice of meditation as a tool for calming the mind and observing anxious thoughts from a position of detachment. I recommend that you dedicate specific time each day, even if brief, to sit in meditation. This doesn't have to be complicated or formal. What's important is that you create a space where you can be with yourself, observing your breathing, your thoughts, and your emotions without distractions. As this practice becomes a habit, you'll notice that your mind becomes calmer and your ability to handle anxiety improves significantly. Another important teaching we've covered is the idea of impermanence. Anxiety, like any emotion, is transitory. Everything in life is in constant change, including our emotions and thoughts. When you feel anxiety overwhelming you, remember that this too shall pass. This reminder may seem simple, but it has a profound impact on how we handle difficult emotions. By accepting the changing nature of anxiety, we stop fighting against it and learn to let it follow its course without clinging to it. It's crucial to apply these teachings not only in moments of tranquility or during meditation, but also in real situations of daily life. Maybe you have a stressful job, relationships that generate anxiety, or constant worries about the future. These are perfect opportunities to put into practice what we've discussed. When you face a situation that would normally cause you anxiety, try to take a step back and observe what's happening within you. What thoughts are arising? How does your body feel? How is your breathing? By taking this moment of pause and observation, you create a space between you and the emotion, which allows you to respond from a place of calm instead of reacting impulsively. If you find yourself in the middle of a particularly difficult situation and feel that anxiety is overwhelming, remember the mindfulness exercise we practiced. Conscious breathing, observation of sensations in your body, and recognition of the environment can help you calm down quickly and regain control. It's not about eliminating anxiety in the moment, but preventing it from growing uncontrollably. This exercise is like a pause button you can press when you need it to recalibrate your mind and return to being centered. Another important recommendation is self-compassion. Often when we're anxious, we criticize ourselves for feeling that way. We think, "I shouldn't be so nervous," or "Why can't I control this?" But this attitude only aggravates anxiety. The Buddha taught us the importance of compassion not only toward others but also toward ourselves. If you find yourself in a moment of anxiety, instead of criticizing yourself, try to treat yourself with kindness. Remember that it's human to feel anxiety and that everyone at some point goes through the same thing. Self-compassion allows you to soften anxiety's impact and helps you recover faster. It's also useful to surround yourself with an environment that supports these practices. Maybe you can create a space in your home where you can meditate regularly or practice mindfulness without interruptions. This space doesn't have to be large or complicated. It can be a simple corner with a cushion and a candle. What's important is that it's a place where you can retreat even for a few minutes to reconnect with yourself. Additionally, I recommend that you seek moments of tranquility in nature. Spending time outdoors, whether in a park, beach, or mountain, has an incredibly calming effect on the mind. Nature reminds us of impermanence and reconnects us with something greater than our own thoughts. If you feel overwhelmed by anxiety, going for a walk, listening to the sound of leaves, or simply observing the sky can be an excellent way to re-establish your internal balance. Now that we've journeyed together through these powerful Buddhist teachings for managing anxiety, I want to thank you for dedicating this time to your mental and emotional well-being. We've explored practical tools like meditation, mindfulness, and self-compassion, and how you can apply them in daily life to reduce anxiety and find greater inner peace. Remember, even though anxiety may arise at different times, you now have the tools to prevent it from controlling you. Thank you for being here, and for your willingness to embark on this journey of self-discovery and inner peace. Until next time, I wish you wisdom, wealth, and a serene heart. And again, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth.